In our society, dreams are often dismissed as unimportant, yet many people claim to have had experiences during sleep that felt real. For example, someone may describe flying over a city. Such experiences, known as out-of-body experiences, challenge our understanding of consciousness. While scientists have largely ignored out-of-body experiences, it is clear that these experiences are real to those who have them. Out-of-body experiences are a universal human experience. They often occur by accident during illness, emotional stress, or sleep. The experience challenges beliefs about the soul and survival after death. They can be enjoyable or frightening, and in rare cases, out-of-body experiences appear to describe real-life events. The story you're about to hear in this video is extremely rare, a first-hand account of hundreds of out-of-body experiences by Robert A. Monroe. In laboratory studies, Monroe attempted to produce out-of-body experiences while hooked up to instruments measuring physiological functions. As we proceed in this exploration, I would advise you not to dismiss Mr. Monroe and to approach his experiences with an open mind. Chapter 1. Not with a wand, nor lightly. My experience begins with a bout of severe abdominal cramp, which was followed by a period of exhaustion and eventual relief. The significance of this event is not yet clear, but it marks the beginning of a journey into the extraordinary. 3 weeks after the first event, I experienced another major incident. While lying down on the couch, a beam or ray of light seemed to come from the sky, causing my body to shake violently and become immobilized. With great effort, I managed to sit upright, ending the shaking sensation. This peculiar condition recurred 9 times over the following 6 weeks, always after lying down for rest or sleep. When I sought medical advice, no physical cause could be found. Believing it may be hallucinatory or dreamlike, I decided to observe the phenomenon objectively if it happened again. During one occurrence, I experienced a steady vibration throughout my body, resembling an electric shock without pain. Remaining calm, the sensation eventually faded away. Several months later, I experienced another episode while lying in bed. A surge started in my head and spread throughout my body. Suddenly, I felt a smooth wall pressing against my shoulder, assuming I had fallen out of bed. Attempting to see in the dim light, I realized I was lying against a wall. I found myself floating against the ceiling, realizing that I was observing my own body in bed beside my wife. Overwhelmed with the sensation that I was dying and not ready to leave, I quickly returned to my physical body. My psychologist friend, Dr. Bradshaw, suggested exploring the phenomenon further. With subsequent vibrations, I mustered the courage to deliberately disassociate, successfully floating to ceiling height. However, in subsequent attempts, I experienced a strong sexual drive, which became a mental block to exploration. In time, I began referring to the condition as the second state, and to the non-physical body as the second body. Chapter 2. Search and Research. Faced with an unknown phenomenon, I felt compelled to explore it further. However, fears of mental illness, social stigma, and the lack of understanding from peers made it a lonely and challenging journey. Seeking answers, I delved into religious and philosophical texts, but found only vague references and generalities. Orthodox ministers harboured wariness, deeming me dangerous or heretical. In Eastern religions, there was acceptance, but also a focus on spiritual development beyond my capabilities. Feeling trapped and desperate, I discovered an underground community in the United States, composed of individuals with similar experiences and beliefs. This underground community spanned various fields and walks of life, and its members often stay silent. They range from professionals in parapsychology to roadside palmists and psychics. They believe that the full potential of human abilities and the inner self are not recognized by contemporary society or current scientific understanding. Astral projection is the term they use to refer to one's leaving the physical body temporarily. The word astral carries historical connotations related to occultism and suggests the existence of an astral world where people go after death. But even the Bible supports the existence of the second body, as the out-of-body experience is reported by saints and religious figures in the Catholic and Protestant churches. In the Orient, the concept of a second body is accepted and practiced by adepts, lamas, monks, and gurus who possess mental and physical powers beyond scientific knowledge. Such experiences are typically spontaneous and occur during illness or emotional crises. Nevertheless, rare instances exist of individuals deliberately inducing the second state and moving about in their second body, such as Oliver Fox and Sylvan Muldoon. Adequate scientific research and experiments are lacking in the field, and underground literature often intertwines with theological beliefs, making objective analysis challenging. Chapter 3. On the Evidence. On the morning of March 5th, 1959, I had an out-of-body experience in a motel room. I saw a boy tossing a baseball, a man loading an awkward device into a car, and people playing cards at a table covered with dishes. Later that evening, I visited Mr. and Mrs. Barnson and shared my experience. It turned out that the morning events were directly linked to the Barnson family's activities during that time. The son was indeed tossing a baseball, Mr. Barnson was loading a similar device into his car, and Mrs. Barnson was sorting mail at the breakfast table. The details of my experience matched the actual events. No conscious intent or pre-knowledge of these events existed, so the coincidence is significant. On the night of October 12th, 1960, I had an unexpected experience related to participating in a séance. Although initially skeptical about the authenticity of mediumistic powers, I was intrigued. That night, while lying in bed, I felt a cold presence and encountered a ghost-like figure standing in the doorway. The figure approached, and I felt hands covering my eyes. Eventually, the figure was revealed to be accompanied by other beings. I found myself in a small room with 4 women, one of whom sat on my lap, causing laughter. It was later confirmed that 4 women had gathered in a small apartment, wearing clothes matching my descriptions. On the afternoon of August 15th, 1963, I decided to experiment with visiting a businesswoman I knew well, who was on vacation. I entered a relaxed state and focused on the desire to connect with my friend. I then found myself in a kitchen where my friend was sitting with 2 girls, engaged in conversation. I attempted to get my friend's attention and asked if she would remember the visit. My friend confirmed that she was aware of my presence and would remember. I then pinched my friend on the side, unintentionally causing pain. Later, when my friend returned to work, she confirmed that during the time of the experiment, she was in the kitchen of her beach cottage with her niece, just sitting and talking. My friend also revealed the marks from the pinch and expressed surprise that it was I who had pinched her. The details reported by my friend matched my experience. These 3 incidents served as evidence supporting the existence of phenomena beyond my initial skepticism. Chapter 4. The Here, Now. Out-of-body experiences raise the question of where one goes during such experiences. It appears that there are 3 basic environments. The first I refer to as Locale 1, which represents the familiar physical world. However, experiments in this environment are scarce compared to recorded experiences. Navigating in the second body poses challenges, as the second body travels when the mind wanders, leading to unintended destinations. Observations in Locale 1 are often perceived in shades of black and white, regardless of lighting conditions. Communication with other humans during these experiences can be challenging, as individuals often have no conscious recollection of the encounter, despite being aware of the attempts to visit them. In one experiment, I arrived at a hospital EEG lab after an active day. After experiencing difficulty in achieving full relaxation, I decided to take a break, and spoke with the technician. I then resumed the relaxation technique and successfully entered the out-of-body state. In this state, I encountered two strangers, a woman and a man, and attempted to communicate with them. However, only limited interaction and non-verbal communication took place. Upon returning to the physical, I shared my experience with the technician, who confirmed that her husband was present in the outer hall during the separation. The technician also noted unusual and unique EEG tracings during the activity. Chapter 5. Infinity, Eternity. Locale 2 challenges our understanding of reality and raises questions about religious doctrines. However, only a small portion of visits to Locale 2 through the second body have provided evidential data, making much of this information cautious extrapolation. Locale 2 is a non-material environment with different laws of motion and matter. Time in Locale 2 is non-existent, with past, future, and now existing simultaneously. Thought is the vital creative force in Locale 2, providing energy, perception, and communication. Mechanical aids and physical necessities are not present, as thought fulfills all needs and desires. Like attracts like in this thought world, and one's destination in Locale 2 is determined by inner motivations, emotions, and desires. Solid matter and familiar artifacts can be perceived, created either by the thoughts of past inhabitants or by higher-order beings. The second body is naturally suited for travel in Locale 2, while travel to physical destinations is forced and limited. Locale 2 defies traditional concepts of place and is totally beyond our ordinary comprehension. Experimental visits to Locale 2 have provided little in formulating a more acceptable theory. The most acceptable theory thus far is based on the wave-vibration concept, positing the existence of an infinity of worlds, operating at different frequencies. Our senses and instruments are unable to perceive this potential, similar to how we were unaware of the electromagnetic spectrum until we developed the methods to detect it. The areas of Locale 2 closest to the physical world are often populated by emotionally driven beings, including those who are alive but asleep or drugged, and possibly those who have died. This near area is a challenging and unpleasant place to be, and one must learn to navigate through its disjointed personalities and encounters with sexual motivations rooted in physical body experiences. Based on my experiences, it is plausible that some form of existence in Locale 2 follows life activity in the physical world. For instance, I once encountered a young boy in Locale 2 who seemed ill and afraid. I returned to him later, offering comfort and guidance on where to go next. Many experiences in Locale 2 could be reported, but it would be difficult to fully convey the scope and dimension of this non-physical realm. There have been encounters with aggressive individuals, and encounters with individuals from various organizations. On occasion, violent gusts of wind-like forces have disrupted the smooth travel through Locale 2. Additionally, there is a sign in the sky that acts as an immovable barrier, featuring crude symbols. The story told to me was that a wealthy woman sought assurance that her son would enter heaven, but was deceived by a church. In revenge, she had the sign erected in heaven to expose the church's dishonesty for all eternity. Despite efforts, the sign remains, creating a curious element in that area of Locale 2. The greatest obstacle in accepting the existence of Locale 2 is the inability of the conscious mind, conditioned in a physical world, to comprehend its infinite nature. Additionally, there is the barrier, a screen that lowers when we awaken from sleep and blots out our memories of Locale 2 experiences. Dreams may serve as translations or symbolizations of these experiences, but misinterpretation is common due to the unfamiliarity of the conscious mind with Locale 2. It is likely that many or even all human beings visit Locale 2 during the sleep state, though the purpose of these visits remains unknown. Perhaps, one day, our life sciences will uncover this knowledge and usher in a new era of understanding based on Locale 2 data. Chapter 6. Reverse Image. My discovery of Locale 2 was very interesting. In one experiment, I tried to lift out of my physical body, but remained confined. I then discovered a trick where I rotated and found myself in direct opposition to my physical body. There was a hole in a wall that appeared infinite, like deep space. I cautiously went through the hole and encountered blackness. In a subsequent experiment, I reached a hand through and shook another hand. On another occasion, I heard my name being called by a soft, urgent voice. I asked the voice for its name, but received no answer. As I gained confidence, I swam deeper into the darkness. On one occasion, I encountered a person near the hole and unexpectedly burst into tears in their presence. Determined for answers, I ventured deeper and found myself standing in a meadow-like area near a building. I encountered two people sitting outside the building, but despite my attempts to communicate with them, I only sensed their awareness. These experiments, when taken at face value, suggest a unique and repeatable phenomenon. The formula of inducing vibrations, a 180 degrees rotation, and the appearance of the hole was successfully replicated multiple times. The experiences with hands and voices defy explanation, but similar phenomena have been reported in other circumstances. Locale 2 appears to be a physical matter world similar to our own, with trees, houses, cities, and people. However, there are notable differences in technological and social evolution. Electricity and internal combustion are absent and are replaced by steam power and alternative energy sources. Vehicles are larger and operate at slower speeds. The realm has a complete separate history to our own. During my expeditions, I discovered that the inhabitants of Locale 2 were unaware of my presence. However, one day, I temporarily inhabited the body of a man there. This merging allowed me to experience his emotions and learn about his life, including his loneliness and later encounter with a woman named Leah and her children. A series of intrusions into Locale 2 revealed events in the lives of I there and Leah. Their relationship developed from announcing their marriage to living together in a house with a unique design. However, complications arose due to misunderstandings and differences, leading to their separation. I there continued to long for Leah and made efforts to find her. Chapter 7. Post-Mortem. In 1961, my friend and family doctor, Dr. Richard Gordon, fell ill during a trip to Europe and returned home for medical treatment. He underwent an exploratory operation, and it was discovered that he had advanced abdominal cancer. Knowing that time was limited, I felt a strong need to speak to him about my experiences, which I had never mentioned before. I believed that my wild talent could potentially be of help to him, even though I didn't fully understand how at the time. Despite my inability to see Dr. Gordon in person while he was in the hospital, his wife suggested that I write him a letter that she could read during his periods of lucidity. In the letter, I urged him to consider the possibility of existence beyond the confines of a physical body, and to try the techniques I had mentioned. Unfortunately, Mrs. Gordon did not inform me whether he had attempted these methods. After giving him time for rest, I summoned the courage to embark on this new experiment. On a Saturday afternoon, after entering a vibrant state, I mentally called out for Dr. Gordon and found myself in a large room of an institution. A voice guided me to an open doorway where I observed a group of men, but Dr. Gordon was not among them. As I waited, I began to feel increasingly hot and decided to leave. Just as I was about to leave, a young man in the group glanced at me intently before continuing his conversation. I later realized that this young man was Dr. Gordon in his youth. There have been many other times that I have contacted the deceased. For instance, I was once renting a house whose previous owner had died. One night, as I was preparing to have an out-of-body experience, I saw a woman entering the room. Curious, I reached out to touch her, and her hands clasped mine. She asked me to take care of a painting before she disappeared. Later, I discovered that the woman in the house had actually died in the room I was sleeping in. Upon showing a photo of her to the psychiatrist who lived next door, he confirmed her identity and recounted how she had a habit of squeezing people's hands as a gesture of happiness or gratitude. In another instance, a friend I often discussed anti-gravity research with tragically passed away. While on a trip, I heard his voice urging me to prove anti-gravity myself. When I returned home, I learned that he had died at the exact time I heard his voice. Months later, I attempted to contact him during an out-of-body experience. I encountered a cloud of white gas that took his form, and he excitedly shared what had happened since his passing. After my father passed away, I decided to attempt to connect with him during an out-of-body experience. I found myself in a dim room where I encountered my father. We had a joyful reunion, but I noticed that he seemed tired, and his energy faded quickly. I sensed that our meeting had come to an end. I am uncertain as to whether I will try to connect with him again. Chapter 8. 'Cause the Bible tells me so. These personal experiences, along with others, have led me to believe in the existence of a second body and the potential survival of personality and character beyond death. However, I have yet to find evidence supporting traditional notions of heaven or God. The mysteries of the afterlife continue to elude and intrigue me. Prayer, as commonly practiced today, may be lacking in its original intent and meaning. Despite praying fervently during a non-physical experience in which I encountered unfriendly entities, my tormentors simply laughed. This led me to explore the concepts of heaven and hell in the second state. In Locale 2, there is a layer or area that must be passed through, resembling a grey-black ocean filled with curious and tormenting beings. Moving calmly through this area brings less incident, while reacting violently attracts more aggressive entities. This could be interpreted as the borders of hell. Thoughts and motivations play a significant role in shaping one's experience in Locale 2, acting as a homing device that determines one's destination. These destinations can vary, resembling aspects of both heaven and hell. However, the traditional notions of God and heaven as we perceive them are not easily found in Locale 2, leading me to question if there is something I have missed. Occasionally, in Locale 2, there is a mysterious event that occurs, which is signalled by trumpets. When the signal is heard, everyone lies down in a matter-of-fact manner, arching their bodies to expose their abdomen, with their heads turned to the side. This forms a living road for him to pass over. It is believed that he may sometimes choose someone from this bridge, and that person is never seen again. During his passing, there is a roaring musical sound and an overwhelming feeling of radiant force. Afterwards, everyone resumes their activities without further mention or thought of the event. The experience is accepted as an ordinary part of their lives. In another scenario, I have visited a place or state of being that is difficult to describe accurately. It is a vision of pure peace and exquisite emotion. It feels like floating in warm, soft clouds, surrounded by ever-changing rays of light in dazzling hues. Each colour brings a unique sense of soothing and happiness. It is a place that feels like home, where one truly belongs. In this indescribable state or place, as you move through clouds, you are surrounded by music. It is a music beyond anything you have known before, with harmonies, melodies, and counterpoints that evoke deep and incoherent emotions. Choirs of wordless voices and intricate patterns of harmonic strings fill the air, and you resonate with the music, feeling connected to it, and a part of it. It is a pure truth, a fulfillment of the longing and nostalgia you have felt back in your earthly experiences. In this place, you are not alone, but connected to others who are exactly like you, bonded by a great and complete love that flows effortlessly. Differences in sex no longer matter, as you are both male and female, and part of a perfect balance. And within all of this, you are aware of the existence of the Father, the Creator of all. Each time I have experienced this place, returning to the earthly realm has been difficult, leaving me with a sense of nostalgia and homesickness. Chapter 9. Angels and Archetypes. Oftentimes, I have been assisted in my out-of-body experiences, though I am unsure of who these helpers are, or why they aid me. They do not always respond to my pleas for help, but they offer assistance when I least expect it. They are not necessarily friendly, but they act with understanding and purpose. I trust them and accept their help without question. I have not always seen these helpers, but I feel their presence and hear their voices. In one instance, hands rolled me into the proper position when I had difficulty re-entering my body. In another instance, hands held a book in front of my closed eyes, teaching me about recreating past feelings. In another experience, a white ray of light offered to reveal a fundamental secret, but I was interrupted before receiving the answer. These experiences have left me curious about the true identity of my helpers and the potential revelations they may bring. Chapter 10. Intelligent Animals. Throughout history, various entities have been described as tormenting humanity, leading to questions of their existence and origin. The following excerpt from my notes presents a peculiar incident. During relaxation, I observed a small, nude, human-like figure approach me and climb onto my back. Although surprised, I was not afraid, and observed his presence. I did not have the courage to confront or identify him, finding his behaviour more animal-like than human. This encounter felt real, occurring in broad daylight with my senses fully aware. During another relaxation session, I felt the presence of something climbing on my back. I attempted to remove it by pulling on its leg, and it had a rubbery texture. In another instance, multiple of the same beings climbed onto my back. Feeling overwhelmed and calling for help, I saw a serious-looking man observing the situation. He approached, and, without acknowledging me, picked up the beings. I expressed gratitude before returning to my physical state. Another noteworthy incident occurred in a hotel room. I had a nightmarish encounter with an unknown entity that viciously attacked me. The intensity and duration of the fight was debilitating, and I did not initially realize that I was outside of my physical body. In order to end the battle, I directed the fight towards my physical body and returned to it. Chapter 11. Gift or Burden. During experimentation, a side effect of precognition has occurred in states of deep relaxation. This involved a vision-like experience where I retained consciousness. Initially, I attributed it to unconscious material being released. However, a vivid experience on a commercial airplane made me realize its significance. I witnessed the boarding process, including the presence of a friend and 3 men in suits. Eventually, the plane crashed when attempting to fly under some wires. I survived the crash, and the vision abruptly ended. I subsequently expressed my concerns about future plane trips and the possibility of experiencing a similar incident. Nevertheless, I decided to proceed with an important trip I had planned. Now, 12 weeks later, 4 of which were spent in the hospital, I provide an update on how things have unfolded. First, I noticed a strong sense of familiarity on the bus to the airport, similar to the precognition experience. 4 men entered the bus, resembling the previous interpretation of 3 men in dark suits and 1 in light clothing. Travelling on the Jersey Turnpike, the view triggered a sense of recognition. Despite uncertainty about survival, I decided to board the plane, which flew at a low altitude and encountered a thunderstorm which could be related to an under-the-wires flight. However, 4 days after the flight, I had a heart attack. Despite my mind rejecting the possibility of a heart attack, it manifested as the acceptable scenario of an airplane crash. There are many more incidents of precognition recorded in my notes, and nearly all began with a hissing sound, followed by the sensation of a valve opening. These include foreseeing the oil warning appearing in my car, seeing a fleet of unusual aircraft, experiencing the collapse of buildings, and observing a city in turmoil and panic. Confirmation or dismissal of these visions can only come with time. Chapter 12. Round Holes and Square Pegs. Among the many mysteries I have encountered, there are some experiences that lack any explanation. One such incident involved a sudden, soundless explosion while lying down, which propelled me across the room. For a moment I thought this was death, but after returning to my physical body, I found everything was normal, though I was left shaken. Another peculiar event involved encountering a strange device. A man used this device to emit a narrow beam, causing another person to collapse, as if dead. When the device was adjusted to emit a wide beam, the person immediately woke up and resumed their conversation. The device consisted of a focusing cylinder, a power source, and protective plates. The man referred to it as a triode. Another time, I met a woman while flying, and we entered a large institution to avoid getting caught. I waited in an office where a man examined me and talked about a treatment for improvement, but didn't explain why. I returned to the physical without incident. During a visit to Hyannis, Massachusetts, I had an out-of-body encounter with a man who aimed a gun at me, causing me to quickly withdraw. Later, I encountered the same man who asked why I wanted to see the president, to which I gave a response. The man then said I couldn't see the president, and I agreed. I later discovered in the newspaper that Kennedy was indeed in Hyannis at the time, and I questioned whether Kennedy might have a psychic bodyguard. During another experience, I observed a glowing outline of my arms and hands. The glowing outline arms moved freely and felt normal, though my physical arms remained folded. I also noticed that I could pass through solid objects with the glowing arms. On another occasion, I felt a panting presence behind me, leading me to quickly return to the physical. However, I later discovered that the presence was my own body, with the physical sensations in the back and thoughts in the front. During another experience, I observed the unusual elasticity of my non-physical body. I could stretch my limbs to twice their normal length and change the shape of my body. I contemplated the mythology of werewolves and vampires, considering the possibility that individuals could temporarily transform into other creatures. In another experience, I attempted to visit someone and found myself in their living room, but they seemed frightened, and I was abruptly pulled back to the physical due to discomfort. Surprisingly, the next day, the person confirmed seeing a filmy, grey, chiffon-like object hanging in the air and waving. I have also noticed in the non-physical state that my body is reversed, as in a mirror image. I have also noticed that I do not have clothing in this state. Furthermore, on occasion, I have experienced a strong pull that brought me back to my physical body. I thus set out to investigate the existence of a cord connecting my physical and second body. I found a cable-like structure extending from my back, resembling the roots of a tree. Chapter 13. The Second Body. So, what have I learnt from my experiences? First, the second body has weight and is subject to gravitational attraction, but it has much less density than the physical body. It may be composed of matter with low density. Second, the second body can be visible under specific conditions, either by reflecting or radiating light. Third, the sense of touch in the second body is similar to the physical body, and it can perceive and touch physical objects. Fourth, the second body is flexible, can take different forms, and may stretch or snap back into the physical body. Fifth, there is evidence suggesting a reversal between the physical and second body, like a mirror image. Sixth, there appears to be a connecting cord between the physical and second body, serving an unknown purpose. And finally, there is a significant relationship between the second body and electricity and electromagnetic fields. Chapter 14. Mind and Supermind. Let us now shift the focus to understanding the mind's response to the second body experience. I must distinguish between these experiences and vivid dreams or hallucinations. Just as we're certain of our wakeful state, awareness in the out-of-body state is equally vivid. Conscious awareness, decision-making, and the procession of events are the same as in the wakeful state. As the mind adapts to this state, it transitions from unconscious domination to symbiotic cooperation with the unconscious. The mastermind, or supermind, guides the conscious mind's actions without resistance. Thought and action synchronize, with thought becoming a driving emotional force shaping coherent actions. This force is instrumental in movement, and is often propelled by the supermind's intentions, though we may not immediately grasp these motives. I suspect that dreams of flying and falling are related to second-state encounters. In sleep, flying dreams might be the mirroring of an unconscious out-of-body experience, while falling dreams may mirror the reintegration into the physical body. Intelligence in the second state is slightly different. The expansion of memory is notable as memories unrelated to one's current life flood in. Recall of past places, buildings, and experiences occur. The source of these memories remains a mystery. Chapter 15. Sexuality in the second state. During experimentation, a vital factor remains clear: sexuality and the physical sex drive. In the underground and esoteric literature, this topic is scarcely addressed. Nevertheless, rumours link psychics to heightened sexuality, and the Russian mystic George Gurdjieff noted sexual obstacles to mysticism. Control over these urges remains a challenge. In the second state, sexuality transcends physical manifestations. It becomes a profound form of communion, vastly different from earthly experiences. The intimate connection mirrors the alignment of electrostatic poles, exhibiting the need to unify a pull and eventual equilibrium. In September 1959, a pivotal encounter occurred within the second state. Positioned above my room, I sensed a female presence, and a potent sexual urge arose. This drive conflicted with a fear of unknown repercussions as she neared. Fearing the uncharted, I returned to my physical body. Reflection has revealed a link between the force that allows disassociation and the sexual drive. Could a single force underlie both? Nevertheless, second-state sexuality differs from its physical counterpart. Social conditioning fades, and physical, mechanical factors cease to apply. There is no interpenetration or sensuality. Instead, attraction is dynamic, akin to radiation. The act is not really an act, but a profound intermingling. This event, which is an integral part of Locale 2, parallels a mere handshake. In September 1963, I found myself among a group of about 8 people. They were cautious, but not hostile. Each person greeted me with a unique form of physical contact, involving a quick flash of a sexual charge. Was this sexual greeting a local custom, or an attempt to be friendly? Perhaps it reflects our inner selves, or is tied to suppressed sexual fantasies. In March 1961, I initiated vibrations and transitioned. Arriving in a dark room that resembled my children's bedroom, I sensed a woman nearby. Her age and sexual experience emanated, sparking my desire. However, she declined, as she was tired. Another woman appeared, older but equally experienced, eagerly offering connection. We briefly joined, and then separated. Returning to the physical, I discovered that my wife's friend had slept in my children's room. She confirmed her exhaustion from a passionate affair. Yet, the mystery remained. Who was the older woman? As I pondered the significance of this older woman, a friend revealed to me that another acquaintance had dreamt of me the same Saturday night. This woman, who is of considerable sexual experience, had dreamt of a detailed physical examination by me. The synchronicity of these events, though possibly coincidental, strikes me as noteworthy. Chapter 16. Preliminary Exercises. In this exploration, there is an obvious need for personal experience. While such experiences are typically spontaneous and fleeting, they can also be systematically pursued. The major barrier is fear, though this barrier is likely crossed unconsciously during sleep. To conquer this fear barrier, conscious blending with the innate supermind is essential. The most compelling facet of the fear barrier is the fear of death. The similarity between the out-of-body experience and death can evoke instinctive reactions. Initial attempts often trigger the fear of death, but repeated encounters can temper this anxiety. The other facets of the fear barrier are the fear of returning to the physical body and the fear of the unknown. The former can be eased by past experience of safe returns. However, the latter always remains a challenge, as one never fully understands the intricacies of the rules of this other realm. Gradual exposure to familiarity is the only way to navigate the fear barrier, and so the following narrative aims to serve as a psychological bridge over this barrier, offering solace through shared experiences. The following outlines the necessary steps in the development of the experience. Step 1 is relaxation. To embark on out-of-body experiences, cultivating relaxation is pivotal, as urgency and impatience can prevent them. Various relaxation techniques are available, including self-hypnosis, meditation, and the borderland sleep state. The latter is a gradual process of maintaining a delicate balance between wakefulness and sleep. Begin the process while you are already tired, and hold a specific thought in mind. Remain poised in the state between wakefulness and sleep, until all mental imagery fades to blackness. Let go of rigid control and allow sensory inputs to fade. When you have achieved a deepening of consciousness, focus on retaining consciousness within a relaxed state to prevent yourself from falling asleep. Step 2 is to attain the state of vibration. Once you achieve this state, you will know for sure that you have achieved it. The procedure is as follows. After attaining the relaxation state, focus on the blackness and establish a point of concentration. Move this point outward and upward, and mentally reach for the sensation of vibration. When successful, a pulsating wave will surge through your body. Upon achieving the vibrational state, focus on conscious control through specific procedures. Start with acclimatization to eliminate fear reactions to the vibrations. Gradually manipulate and modulate the vibrations, direct them into a ring, and sweep rhythmically, head to toes and back. Mentally pulse them to increase their frequency. Speeding up the vibrations is essential for disassociation from the physical. As the frequency increases to the point they are no longer recognizable, a warm, tingling sensation emerges. Reaching this stage signals readiness for physical disassociation. Crossing this threshold commits you to a new reality, forever changing your life and philosophy. Chapter 17. The Separation Process. After attaining the vibrational state, continue to control your thoughts. With one arm, reach for any object, wall, or door, as if stretching your arm. When you reach the object, identify its details by touch. Then, push against the object until your hand seemingly passes through it. If you achieve this, return your arm to its physical location and decrease the vibrations to end the experience. On your next experiment, lift both arms gently and clasp your hands together. Try to see both your physical arms and non-physical arms. When you are ready for dissociation, use the lift-out approach by thinking about floating upwards. Another technique is the rotation technique. To do this, slowly attempt to turn over, focusing on your head and shoulders first. Turn until your non-physical body is facing your physical body, then stop and think of floating upward. Both methods require successful vibrational state practice. Prioritize the lift-out technique first, and then the rotation technique. Once successful, maintain control by staying close to the physical realm during early experiments. To return, think about your physical body, and note the slight click-like sensation upon reintegration. Progress by separating a bit farther. Mentally will yourself to see, avoiding the thought of physically opening your eyes. Vision will improve with practice. When viewing your body, stay composed. Examine your surroundings while moving gently. Once you have learnt to accept and manage the inner desires that arise in the second state, you can proceed to more distant journeys. Choose a person you know well for your destination and think of their character rather than their appearance. Begin seeing and stretch toward your goal. The experience lies in your hands. Chapter 18. Analysis of Events. To understand how these experiences started happening for me, I have pursued data analysis rather than vague underground discussions. I aimed to organize the conflicting data by extrapolating possibilities from known information. Several months prior to the first symptoms, I had experimented briefly with anesthesia, with some interesting results. This initiated my interest in learning during sleep. I thus created hypnotic sleep sound recordings for controlled tests. These recordings induced a receptive sleep state, with directions for learning multiplication tables and languages. I ceased these experiments after the onset of the first symptom. In September 1958, I started experiencing vibrations and a constant high-pitched hiss. 3 months later, full separation began during the vibrational state. By September the following year, visits to Locale 1 gave way to unintended exploration of Locale 2, and I became convinced that the human personality survives death. Separation from the body then became effortless, and has remained that way for the past 8 years. Chapter 20. Inconclusive. Medical and mental sciences do not currently explain second-state occurrences. Considering this uncertainty, the following premise emerges. Within a universe of diverse sentient beings, planets with life share a common pattern. Life germinates in a planet's shield of gases and liquids. This shield deflects, filters, and regulates radiation from stars to sustain life. Animate life flourishes where this shield develops, creating a dichotomy between shielded and unshielded planets. Evolution follows a cycle of utilizing perceived natural forces. Psionic energy, or creative thought, is a foundational attribute of life. Communication is innate and transcends time and space. Proficiency in other forces, biochemical, nuclear, and gravitational, comes with experience. As civilizations evolve, mastery of the forces unfolds naturally. Mechanical means that control the environment are developed to alleviate the reliance on psionic energy. Over time, nuclear advancement occurs, enabling interstellar travel. Without understanding psi fields, contact with other societies poses risks. As interstellar travel becomes likely, future contacts are inevitable. Intellectually trained leaders resist psi communication, but some success comes from untrained individuals. This hypothesis might provide answers to my experiences, as I have sometimes felt as though I was encountering a powerful, intelligent force. For instance, in September 1960, while lying with my head to the north, a powerful beam pierced me from the north. I felt powerless, as an incomprehensible intelligence searched my memories. The intrusion left me shaken. A week later, the same impersonal probing occurred, though I felt a sense of loyalty to the intelligence force and to a designated task. My role felt mundane yet vital, as though I were manning a pumping station. I got the impression that ancient pipes were carrying energy-rich material, which is very valuable elsewhere. 2 weeks later, I was the pumping station attendant again. I understood that an entity was seeking a substance that permitted breathing in Earth's atmosphere. I asked for their identity, but received a response I could not understand. They then left for the skies. The intelligence was emotionless and cold, and far beyond my understanding. Chapter 21. Premises: a rationale. In our materialistic society, we often confine human presence within the physical body. Yet, the living entity's influence extends beyond conscious awareness. Emotion-laden data is constantly exchanged. Like an invisible network, thoughts travel to and from every acquaintance. Emotional intensity dictates the signal strength, not moral value. You transmit to those you think of, and this subconscious exchange constitutes telepathy. Separation from the physical body during sleep occurs, often unconsciously, but some can intentionally perform dissociation. If organized, those who can could shape humanity's fate. This notion isn't baseless. I affected another person physically in an experiment, implying others could too. Sophisticated research could unveil this reality. This would dissolve religious conflicts and provide clarity on existence beyond death. Medicine would be transformed by understanding the link between physical health and the second body, and psychosomatic medicine already hints at a connection. Psychology and psychiatry would undergo radical shifts, revising definitions and uncovering true causes of mental illness. Schizophrenia might involve second body issues, and perceptions from the second state could explain voices in psychosis. Acceptance of the second body concept would revolutionize daily life. The purpose of sleep would be unveiled as a recharge process. Dream interpretations might shift, whereby common dreams are for data sorting, while vivid ones are second body impressions. The second body appears to operate through an energetic force, related to electricity and magnetism. Thought possibly utilizes this force, and consciousness interprets it as electricity and vibration. Overcoming the fear barrier permits willful separation from the body. Our instinctual actions stem from this drive, yet noble acts defy it. Entering the second state demands subduing this survival instinct, challenging our ideals, but calling us to explore. And that brings us to the end of Journeys Out of the Body by Robert Monroe. If you'd like to see more content like this, remember to subscribe to the channel with notifications on. And please consider supporting via one of the methods in the description. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you have a good day.